She's also quoted in this article saying, "I'm a theater kid that got everything she wanted. Problem is that no one's lining up, no one's going to watch this film." I mean, I have noticed it slowing down, but they're doing everything they can to revive this discourse over and over and over again. ING star Rachel Zegler for the underperformance got so devastating for her that she had to turn to therapy and psychiatric medication to cope with how difficult this was. She was then criticized for dragging her personal politics in the middle of promoting a movie. It was supposed to be her big comeback, a bold reimagining of Evita staged in the heart of London, but instead it spiraled into one of the most humiliating public meltdowns of Rachel Zegler's entire career. I have a feeling that this video is going to get taken out of context, and I know that at this point I can't really stop people from doing that because that's what my whole existence on the internet is. Because after that now infamous balcony scene, the one where she raised her arms like a dictator and screamed into the crowd, the backlash didn't just explode online, it reached City Hall, and now the Mayor of London is allegedly preparing to do something unthinkable: ban Rachel Zegler from performing anywhere in the city. But I thought I'd be the last generation who would get that sort of stuff. I say this though London is different to be in the mayor of this great city. That's not my brilliance, that's because Londoners have these values that means they could elect someone like me to be there. That's right, one of Hollywood's most talked about rising stars just got slapped with what insiders are calling an unofficial blacklisting for mocking a moment that was meant to honor a historical icon. One of our biggest strengths is our diversity. It's a source for me of pride, not of embarrassment. It makes us richer, not poorer, stronger, not a weaker. But we can't assume we're all going to get on really well. So we got to make an effort to make sure we build bridges and not wall the scene that was supposed to crown her as a serious actress. It might be the thing that gets her kicked out of the UK altogether. But trust me, that's only the beginning. But it's hard and it's lonely, it's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay. If you haven't seen the clip that triggered all this, it's already been reposted 1,000 times across social media. Rachel stands on the balcony dressed as Eva Peron, staring down at a crowd of actors below her. But instead of delivering the lines with the grace and stoicism the role is known for, she turns it into a spectacle, raising her voice, punching the air, and gesturing like a political radical. The gloves are off, we got to put this girl in her place. Okay, no more playing nice, call up Tatiana at Variety and tell her we got a cold Melissa. She going to know that means it's go time. We telling everything, I mean that's already a haymaker. She already out on her feet, but throw in the fact that she said it while ignoring the feelings of her ad. On top of that, that our executive took time out of his busy schedule to go threaten her face to face, and she stood on business, stood on her morals uncompromised. Nobody likes stubborn people. Everyone's going to be on her side. Everyone's going to be on her side. But if that ain't enough, some called it bold, others called it downright offensive. It didn't take long before fans were splicing the footage into meme edits, comparing her to authoritarian figures. One viral post even dubbed it Evita the Dictator remix. But the real damage came from theater critics, especially the British ones, who blasted it as tone-deaf, historically detached, and a narcissistic hijacking of the role. That being said, I was still very scared to approach it's like really strange, and I kind of just said I just feel weird if I didn't say hi, and she was really nice about it. And then we took photos, and what you don't see in that video of us taking pictures together, you can't hear her say it, but she's like, let's take another one where I'm strangling you and saying you'll never take my part. So she's great. See, in the original Evita, the balcony scene is symbolic. It's not just drama, it's history. Eva Peron's real life speeches from those balconies in Argentina carried political weight. People lived and died by her words. It's all Rachel Zegler and her behavior. And if it was just one comment, it probably would have been forgotten by now, but it was comment after comment, and it was pissing off everybody. Pissing, quite frankly, if she has said nothing, her movie, probably still forgettable, would have done a lot better. Critical drinker, I mean, it's even down to the fact that Rachel Zegler, and is it Zegler or Zegler, by the way? But Rachel, she turned it into what many are calling an Americanized performance piece, flashy, loud, and completely disconnected from the gravity of the moment. Even members of the production reportedly said they were caught off guard by how far she went during the live show, claiming it was not what they rehearsed and this wasn't just a one-off. I'm going to hold your hand when I say this, but sometimes an actress just can't act. She wasn't menacing, she wasn't intimidating. She just didn't have that villain aura that you need to have to portray one of these classic Disney characters. Her line delivery felt choppy, and even when it came to her singing the songs, it just felt like it was half, and I would not see it again. In terms of set design and world building, this movie is visually stunning. The one-liners and the little quips are hilariously good. Rachel Southern Twain does come out a little bit. Rachel's did get me on the end. I would say it's like a 3 out of 5. That being said, I do think you should see it on your own versus listen to everybody else's opinion. But on the flip side of that, I will say sometimes it is a casting choice that just makes or breaks a movie. Audience members from multiple nights reported the same thing: over-the-top theatrics, improvised gestures, and an attitude that felt more mocking than meaningful. But that was only the start, because while fans were still arguing online, something much bigger was brewing behind closed doors. According to sources close to London's Arts Council, complaints began flooding in just days after the performance went viral, not just from fans but from donors, cultural committees, and even members of parliament. The common theme: Rachel's performance didn't just miss the mark, it disrespected the legacy of both the historical figure and the serious theater. And behind the scenes, the pressure on the mayor's office began to mount. Insiders claimed that after a heated city council session, the mayor himself issued a private statement to several theater administrators expressing his deep disappointment with the production and calling the performance a cultural insult to London's theatrical heritage. While the message wasn't released publicly, word of it spread fast and sparked a media firestorm. I have never been on Reddit willingly. I do not have one. Sometimes when I really want the hot goss, I'll go on like r/Broadway cause I want to know what's going on. But then when I started doing Broadway shows and my name was on those Reddits, it went, this is no longer a safe space for me, I can't read about this. And so I have never been on Reddit willingly. I like to think that playing characters has awakened something that was always there, and that I just wasn't aware of. Essentially, like being Lucy Gay in the Hunger Games was a real turning point for me as a person, and deciding what I would and wouldn't stand for in treatment I received from others or the way that others were treated in the world. And so she's got one of my favorite lines, which is, "I don't sing what I'm told, I sing when I have something to say." And I think that's such a beautiful sentiment, and certainly a testament to how Suzanne Collins writes her female characters. But you know, there's been a nugget I found in every character I've played, with Snow White, with Anthea, with Maria. Even the animated characters that I've voiced, there's got to be a little bit of you everywhere. So I'm very lucky. UK tabloids plastered headlines like Eva or Ego's Rachel Zegler slammed for woke rewriting, and Mayor furious over Hollywood invasion of West End stage. And it didn't stop there. Multiple venues allegedly pulled out of future touring negotiations, citing reputational risk. Imagine a place where everyone is free to be who they want to be and love who they want to love. That's London. The richness of our diversity and the community spirit we take into our daily lives is what makes our city so special. When forces seek to divide us, we stand together. In the face of uncertainty, we don't turn on each other, we look out for one another. It's why our city doesn't just stand strong against hate, we shine bright as a beacon of hope, a place where all, regardless of faith, race, or background, are welcome, valued, and cherished. Some cultural commentators began calling for an informal block on American productions that use history as a prop for personal branding. That might sound extreme, but in London's theater world, where reputation is everything, it sent shockwaves. And the worst part, while all of this was unfolding, Rachel posted something that made it 10 times worse. Just when things couldn't get any more chaotic, Rachel Zegler did something that turned the spark into an explosion in the middle of the growing backlash. With London tabloids ripping her performance apart and rumors swirling about an unofficial blacklisting, she posted a cryptic message to her Instagram story. It only stayed up for a few hours, but screenshots were captured instantly and shared across every platform imaginable. The post, a simple black screen with white text that read, "London was never ready for a woman who speaks power," and underneath it a laughing emoji. To her supporters, it was Rachel clapping back at her critics, doubling down on her performance and reclaiming the narrative. But to everyone else, especially those in the UK theatre world, it felt like a direct insult, like she wasn't just brushing off the criticism but mocking the entire cultural foundation that London theatre stands on. The timing made it even worse. This wasn't posted months later. In reflection, it came right in the heat of the storm, as the mayor's office was reportedly fielding complaints. Venues were distancing themselves and fans were arguing over whether she deserved to keep the role at all. To many, the message confirmed exactly what critics had been saying, that Rachel wasn't interested in honoring history, but in turning Evita into a personal branding moment. Within hours, major culture commentators picked it up. A prominent London columnist wrote, "This isn't feminism, this is ego disguised as empowerment." Others chimed in, calling her tone juvenile, defiant, and embarrassingly American. Even more damaging, the backlash wasn't just external anymore. According to leaked texts from a crew member on the Evita production, some people involved in the show were furious about the post, especially because it undermined weeks of PR work trying to stabilize the narrative. One message, which has now gone viral, reportedly read, "This girl is going to burn the whole show to the ground with her attitude." The deleted story also sparked a wave of parody posts, memes flooded X, and TikTok poking fun at Rachel with captions like, "London was never ready for a theater kid with Wi-Fi and speak power, more like scream nonsense." Even respected stage actors weighed in, with one veteran performer tweeting, "Acting is about serving the story, not hijacking it for Instagram likes." But as brutal as the internet was, it wasn't just digital anymore. A new petition had already begun circulating, one demanding not just an apology but Rachel's removal from the role, and more aggressively, her removal from London performances altogether. And that wave of outrage would only grow when the next piece of the puzzle came to light: a leaked group chat from the Evita cast and crew, because it turns out some of the harshest critics weren't online trolls or British officials, they were the very people working beside her every night on that stage. In the world of theater, what happens backstage is usually sacred. It's where cast members bond, vent, and support each other through long hours of rehearsals and emotionally draining performances. But in Rachel Zegler's case, that backstage support appears to have crumbled, and now it's spilling out into the public eye. According to reports, tensions between Rachel and her Evita castmates have been growing for weeks, long before the balcony scene went viral. It started small miscues, last-minute script changes, and what one insider called a refusal to take direction. But things reportedly reached a boiling point after her now-deleted Instagram story, when several private group chats involving cast and crew were leaked to the press. The screenshots, while unverified, paint a brutal picture. One message allegedly reads, "She thinks she's Eva reincarnated, nobody can talk to her anymore." Another, "We're all just props in the Rachel Zegler show," and perhaps the most damning, "She's hijacked this entire production, no one wants to be here anymore." There is even talk of a walkout, with some members of the backstage crew threatening to quit if Rachel continues to headline the show. And it's not just anonymous text messages fueling the fire. A stagehand speaking anonymously to a British entertainment outlet claimed that Rachel had lost the dressing room and that morale among the team was at an all-time low. Meanwhile, the show's director is reportedly trying to keep the production afloat, issuing strict new guidelines to prevent further leaks, and allegedly holding a private meeting with Rachel about toning down her performance and refraining from making public comments. But according to yet another insider, that meeting didn't go well. All of this chaos backstage is now bleeding into the audience experience. Some ticket holders have started posting reviews saying the energy on stage feels tense and disconnected. One viral post even claimed, "You could feel the hate in the air, it wasn't acting anymore, it was real." And the damage might not stop with Evita. Industry insiders are now speculating that Rachel's reputation in live theater could be permanently tainted. As one casting agent put it, "Producers don't want drama queens, they want professionals." But even amid all this backlash, Rachel isn't backing down. In fact, there are whispers that she's planning a bold move, one that could either save her career or destroy what's left of it. While the drama surrounding Rachel Zegler's Evita performance may have started with one over-the-top balcony scene, it's now evolved into something much bigger: a full-blown culture war between Hollywood's idea of reinvention and the UK's deeply rooted theatrical tradition. For many in Britain, especially those who've spent decades nurturing the West End's reputation as a temple of serious stage craft, Zegler's performance didn't just cross a line, it bulldozed it. British tabloids have been relentless. One editorial in The Telegraph called Rachel a TikTok performer dropped into Shakespeare country, accusing her of turning theater into a vanity project. Another headline in the Daily Mail read, "Evita," or entitled, "How Hollywood's New Diva Offended a Nation." These critiques weren't just about her acting, they became symbolic of what some commentators are calling an American cultural invasion, where history is reimagined not to honor the past, but to cater to identity politics and internet virality. One veteran British actor summed it up perfectly during a BBC panel: "Theatre used to be sacred ground, now it's just another Instagram backdrop." Others echoed this sentiment, saying that Zegler's style may work on screen, but has no place in the disciplined, character-driven world of London's theatre. The idea that she could step into a role as iconic as Eva Peron and reshape it to fit her personal brand with no understanding of the political, cultural, or historical weight was taken as an insult not just to the role, but to the entire institution of historical performance. And if that sounds harsh, it's only because of how seriously the UK takes its theatre. Unlike in Hollywood, where remakes, reboots, and reinventions are part of the game, London's West End still sees itself as a guardian of authenticity. Altering a character's tone or narrative for social media shock value isn't edgy, it's disrespectful, and Rachel's unapologetic attitude has made things worse. Instead of acknowledging the backlash, she's doubled down, portraying herself as a misunderstood visionary silenced by tradition. But the more she tries to spin it as empowerment, the more British audiences see it as arrogance, and this isn't just theoretical anymore. Theaters that once welcomed American imports are now reportedly reviewing contracts more carefully. One insider said future productions might include clauses around public conduct and role integrity, all because of how quickly this situation spiraled. Rachel, without intending to, has become the poster child for what happens when Hollywood ego collides with London tradition. But while cultural commentators debated her place in the West End, fans were mobilizing on an entirely different front, one that could affect not just her current role, but her entire future in the UK. When fans turn on you, it's bad, but when your own audience demands your removal from a city, that's a whole new level of career crisis. And for Rachel Zegler, that's exactly what's happening following her controversial performance, her deleted Instagram posts, and the leaked backstage messages. Thousands of UK theatergoers decided enough was enough. A petition began circulating under the headline, "Keep Rachel Zegler Out of London Theatre." Within 24 hours it had over 10,000 signatures. A week later it's pushing 60,000 and growing fast. The petition doesn't just criticize her performance, it accuses her of deliberately mocking historical trauma, refusing to take accountability, and treating London theatre as a stepping stone for celebrity clout. It calls on all major theatre houses across the UK to deny her future roles and even demands an apology from the Evita production team for what many are calling a gross misrepresentation of a global icon. The comment section of the petition is even more intense. Some signers are West End season ticket holders, furious that their beloved stages are becoming platforms for what they describe as performative activism disguised as art. Others claim to be young theatre students who once admired Rachel but now say her attitude is the exact opposite of what performers should aspire to. One particularly viral comment reads, "This isn't about politics, it's about professionalism. Rachel Zegler isn't being cancelled, she's being confronted." And here's the twist, even some of her previous supporters are starting to waver. Influencers who once defended her casting are going silent. A few have even deleted old tweets praising her performance. It's the kind of slow-motion collapse that happens when the tide truly turns, when people stop defending you not because they disagree, but because they're afraid of defending the losing side. What's more, local London artists are reportedly planning a protest performance outside the theatre. A silent reenactment of the original Evita balcony scene played as it was intended, followed by a moment of silence for the integrity of global theatre. Yes, they're literally holding a vigil for the role she allegedly ruined. Whether you think the backlash is fair or not, the message is clear. This is no longer just about a play, it's about image, ego, and what happens when a performer's that art isn't just about them. And as for Rachel, word is she's plotting something big behind the scenes at this point. Rachel Zegler isn't just facing criticism, she's facing a full-blown identity crisis in the public eye. What began as a bold reinterpretation of a legendary role has unraveled into a PR disaster, a cultural clash, and a career crossroads. She's no longer being judged solely for her performance on stage, but for the attitude, defiance, and digital footprint that came with it. And now the question isn't just whether she'll finish her run in Evita, it's whether any London theatre will ever welcome her again. Behind the scenes, insiders say her team is scrambling. There are whispers of a planned redemption arc, possibly a high-profile interview, a public apology cloaked in empowerment language, or even an early departure from the production for personal reasons. Some say she may pivot back to film, others think she'll double down again, using the controversy to frame herself as a victim of tradition, sexism, or nationalism. But here's what nobody's saying out loud: this might be the turning point, not just for Rachel, but for how Hollywood interacts with international art scenes. The arrogance of parachuting a rising star into a culturally loaded role without listening to the community that might work in LA but London remembers, London holds grudges. And right now Rachel Zegler is learning that the hard way. Whether she recovers from this or not is still up in the air. Some stars bounce back stronger after public backlash, others fade into irrelevance while insisting they were ahead of their time. Either way, one thing is certain, this scandal won't be forgotten anytime soon. And with more leaks, rumors, and headlines dropping by the hour, this story is far from over. So if you want to stay ahead of the chaos, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because the next twist in Rachel Zegler's unraveling Evita saga might just be the most shocking one at